We just rolled out the bundles that you helped us design, and the initial indications are very positive in terms of the effect on AOV and LTV.
Hey, so that was a former client of mine who I'm having on the show here today as a coaching episode. So you're going to get to see behind the scenes of what this supplement company is struggling with. They were a startup when they first came to me, and their goal was to sell the business. They're not there yet, but they're getting pretty close. I did work with them in the early stages, and you can see some of my work here in this podcast and my continued work to help them progress to get to where they need to be. Hope you enjoy the show and hope you get a lot out of it. There's a lot to learn here, as well as a major trap that most supplement businesses fall into, especially at their stage that they're in right now. Hopefully you're not in this trap, but hopefully by listening to this episode you can avoid this trap or at least get yourself out of it. So without further ado, let's get on to the show. Welcome to Health Business Mastery, the Creative Thirst podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Hewitt. Okay, so it's been a while since we worked together. So give me just a quick rundown of where you guys are going and how things have been. I know your goal was to get the business sold and funded once you got to a certain point. So fill me in on everything that's happening sort of marketing-wise since we last worked together.
What we've been seeing is Google's been performing very well for us. Facebook has not. I mean, when I say not, I mean Google's ROAS is well over 1, and Facebook is like 0.75 to 0.5. And again, we obviously always wrestle with attribution because our overall company level ROAS is like 3.5 to 4. And so we're continuing to get a fair amount of organic traffic. We don't know how much that Facebook advertising is then leading to purchases later on. So in general, we've been dialing back our spend with Facebook. We've also noticed that the costs have gone up substantially. I'm sure part of that's seasonal here as we come into the holidays. But we should be ramping up our spend on Google and TikTok and potentially influencers here shortly, and trying to basically drive through to proving cost-effective digital marketing channels, i.e. that we can have a strong ROAS greater than 2. We will probably, we're counting on some of the seasonality going into January to do that, and once we can achieve that, we will then raise money to pour more money into advertising to fuel that machine. And we continue to self-fund the business, and our goal is to reach cash flow break even by Q1, and we think we can do that if we can hit a paid ROAS around 2 across all the various channels. So the trend is positive. I think we've got a fighting chance to do that. We're also starting to ramp up our production of creative, realizing that you need to throw lots and lots out there. You never know what's going to work. And we haven't been producing large amounts of content, which we need to. Did I miss anything major, Cody?
We've had good testing over the last few months. Our social media ROAS has definitely improved. We've been seeing much better profitability month over month on the sales and marketing side. We've been seeing that steadily grow since the middle of summer. So although the sales haven't ramped up at a huge clip, we've also been really conservative with the spend, which has been nice to see those improving results over time. And we're also going from essentially being only on Google and Meta as our 2 platforms, with email feeding in through the back. Even last month, that was the only place we were. And then towards the end of the month, we started launching some TikTok experiments, and now we're about to get set up with Pinterest. So I think it all kind of feeds together at the same time, and just kind of juggling those launches, making sure we're showing up on the platform and starting to run ads effectively is kind of where the focus is.
That's great. So everything's kind of been pretty positive since we had the last engagement working together. So in order to help me coach you on this call, what are some of the bottlenecks that you're experiencing at this point of the business?
And I would say the bottleneck is resources. we're capital constrained. And so we want to experiment with these different channels and potential partners, but it's all a matter of money. And yeah, that's limited. And we've been in this sort of chicken and egg. I've been waiting to raise money until we could prove cost-effective digital marketing channels, but we need money to do that. So we're continuing to invest. It's just trying to be as prudent as possible with the money we're putting into it.
So what would you need in order to raise money? Like, what would you need? How would you define like proven marketing channel?
I would say in a perfect world that we reach a paid ROAS of 2 across all of our advertising channels. And we're at that point, we're very close to break even cash flow wise. So that combination of proving $1 in gets you $2 out, along with, you're not burning a massive amount of cash, you're break even or profitable. Those two things would make it dramatically easier to raise money, because you obviously, anytime you're raising money, you're trying to de-risk the business. And our initial goal was to prove product market fit, which we did in our launch. And then unfortunately, the supply side became the constraint, and we had to spend a bunch of time sorting that out, which we have. And now if we can prove the cost-effective digital marketing, I feel like I've de-risked the business. You've proven product market fit, you've got scalable, high quality supply, and you know that you can put $1 in the marketing machine and get more than $1 out the other end in a profitable spend, because then you have that virtual flywheel that's positive. $1 in, more than $1 generated.
So with budget being limited, is it really the right time to add another marketing channel?
So that's the challenge, is breadth versus depth. And as you've heard me say too many times, speed to insight was the least amount of money and the least amount of time we need to invest to discover some insight about whether a channel works or doesn't work effectively.
Yeah, I'll say a couple notes too, as far as the work and the maintenance required for each platform is also a consideration for us. For example, Pinterest, when you have a demographic of mainly women,
I would recommend
women over 40, household income average 100K plus for something like 40 to 50% of their user base.
I don't think you've maxed out.
And the nature of the platform, people go on there for inspiration. They want planned things. They want to see products that appeal to them.
So rather than starting up a new channel like TikTok or Pinterest and putting effort and energy there,
it's a pretty low maintenance platform.
I'd recommend
you don't
just
constantly need to be making new videos. Whereas
Google,
TikTok is the exact opposite.
And putting the rest of the money
on Meta, when we were starting to see about
focusing on those two platforms.
If that's feeding into what's happening on Google, because if we were to totally turn Meta off, I really wonder what the picture would look like on Google afterwards, as far as awareness building goes and things like that. Because even if there's not direct attribution, there's still a change in the overall business that you can feel when things are going moderately well with Meta. So I would wonder, in your opinion, if you see a pattern like that, where even if it's not hitting a direct return on ad spend or greater, how to evaluate the value of the platform itself and your ability to perform on it.
Okay, let's hold on a little bit right there. So this is a major trap that a lot of supplement brands fall into with scaling at the exact phase of business that you're in right now. So for you, Meta is really your primary growth engine. Meta is creating the awareness, and the demand is being filled on Google. So the problem becomes when you add another channel, and that problem happens because the demand that you created off of Meta gets further diluted. This is why you're seeing your Meta ROAS come down to 0.7, and 0.7 is still actually pretty damn good. So the trap is that you can't get the proper signal to ever increase spend. And that's what you're experiencing right now in your business. So the ad dollars look like they're a lot less efficient because you're measuring it off of individual conversion pixels. You're measuring what is your ROAS on Meta, what is your ROAS on Google. And the clicks to conversion are going on a single path. right? Meta ad click to conversion pixel, Google ad click to Google pixel. But as your distribution gets broader with additional channels, and this is the trap, the problem gets worse. So as distribution, or put another way, as your ad platforms or ad channels increase, so does the amount of demand that you're able to capture. So as a result, the efficiency goes down. And what that looks like is the ROAS is dropping on one channel. So the business starts a spiral downturn where you think your ad spend across all platforms is going down, and therefore you can't spend more money. And that puts you in this never-ending trap that you can't seem to get out of. That's what you're experiencing right now in your business. So this is why I recommended, when we first started working together, when you were just a startup, is focusing on one ad platform, which you did, right? You focused on Meta before adding that second ad platform, Google, and then letting that settle before adding the third, fourth, and fifth platform. So really where you are right now is that you haven't yet maxed out the demand on Meta yet. The problem is a conversion problem. You need to get Meta to convert better, which really goes back to your website. You need to get that landing page, that offer really dialed in. You need to increase the conversion rate on your website and offer page, and also focus on ad creative on the Meta side. That's how you're going to get to your goal of 2.0 ROAS across the board.
And how exactly do we do that on Facebook?
Well, it's a combination of having the right ads, having the right scroll stoppers, having the right combination of video and static ads. But more importantly, it's about having the right acquisition offer, right? A unique offer that just is designed to drive new buyers into your business so that you can then sell them on the back end, right? Or you could just sell them the existing offers, but a new offer that is different from your current product detail pages, that is designed, again, like I said, an acquisition offer that is designed for specifically new buyers, cold buyers, brand new people. That's going to satiate that demand that you're creating. Then they're going to go on Google, then they're going to go on your product detail page and buy the regular offer. Then they're going to come back to your site because now they're buyers, they're getting on the email sequence, and now you started this snowball effect. So how does that kind of line up with what you're seeing on Meta and the way you're advertising and the way you're using your ad strategy on Meta right now?
So we've been driving decently qualified traffic there from Meta and from Google, where they might have fed through. As we source that content from creators, because it does seem like on Meta, it's a really good thing to have a mix of some static images for some bottom of funnel kind of recognition, drive the sale. And then for top and middle, it's really good to have a lot of faces on there, a lot of video content. So that influencer content that we could potentially be sourcing would really help us, Bobby, to your point, just improve the ads, just make what we're doing there better. Because 0.75 to me feels like you're doing something right, and the traffic that's being sent to you is converting. But that there's just some tweaks that could be made along the way.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way, which is why I'm recommending focusing on those two and not adding a third one. I mean, if you want to add Pinterest because it's no extra expense or anything, sure. But I just think with a limited bandwidth of resources and budget, it would be better for you if you put more effort on what's working rather than try something new at this stage.
So what do you think about the micro influencer network to create content to feed Facebook?
Well, I know you've been down that road before, and you weren't happy.
Right. If I could just describe that, what I think they failed in, I know they failed in the execution. They sent out hundreds or thousands of DMs to people that were fitness oriented, not supplement, not mushroom, etc. And no wonder they didn't get a response, because they were targeting the wrong people. Unfortunately, we found that out too late, and at that point we couldn't keep spending with them, and they were not honoring their guarantee. So we lost faith. So I continue to believe that there is a channel through influencers. And what I don't know is how can we cost effectively reach the right ones that will have the right audience and generate the content high quality content we need, not only from them, but to feed Facebook, etc.
Yeah, so that brings up a really big problem that you encountered before when we worked together, right? The problem was that you were not able to pay enough to these influencers to really make it worth their while, right? The commission structure was too low.
Yeah. So one platform that we were approached by is called The Lobby. Essentially, what they've created is a platform where influencers apply to work with them. They are vetted as far as, okay, do you have full engagement? Are you a scammer? You know, what are you doing? They get onboarded onto the platform, and then they're presented with brands that they can work with. And we can say we want to do only gifted collaborations. We can do performance-based collaborations, and we can also do flat payment options. So this is it kind of eliminates that total cold outreach element of what was happening in Q1 of this year that you were seeing us do. So they already have collected influencers who want to create content for brands. They've already set up a payment structure and content usage rights. It's just up to us to make sure that we put a good face on the platform and make it enticing. And the creators that work on this platform also have their own profile within the platform, so you can see their history, whether they've delivered projects on time, quality of the projects, etc. So this kind of turns that initial version of our influencer outreach on its head and just makes it very concentrated and targeted. So that's where we perceive the value in this platform as a possibility as well.
Well, that makes sense. It sounds like it's a really good platform. Still, those influencers are probably not going to be as narrow focused as this forager, like mushroom influencer that you're talking to as the one-off kind of deal.
Yeah, well, and the question is ultimately how much does it matter if they know anything about mushrooms? Because a lot of ads that I've been seeing for other brands, they'll voice over the videos anyways. They'll just use the video clip that the people have created, stitch it into something, and then do a voiced over ad. So there is the option to request that these people also post natively, but ultimately for us, it's also what can we use as paid content and what can we recycle into ads. So this would allow us you can still test hooks, you can test scroll stop, you can see, okay, if we put this person's video right at the beginning, is it getting an impression? Are people pausing for a second?
Right. So it sounds like the bottleneck here is really to be able to produce enough content so that you can test enough ads, enough hooks, enough scroll stops, enough videos versus static images in different ad formats, and constantly iterate and test. You don't have to have unique videos and ads every time. You can use the same basis of the ad and then just tweak the hook in the beginning to see if you get a better scroll stop than the last one. But it's really about iterative testing and testing as much as you can. So if that's truly the bottleneck here, then you really need a two-pronged approach, right? One where you're leveraging influencers because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you're going to get back. And sometimes you can get back gold. That's something that you would never really have thought of. Or sometimes that influencer can just resonate. I'm reminded of the one you did in-house. And then the second pronged approach would be doing more in-house and in-house ads, that is, and getting really, really good, like focusing on how to create short form content that converts. That's a skill that is needed.
I feel like we've been creating content in-house with Devin, and we've not had success in building our organic followers. And so when you say do it in-house, that assumes we have the skills to do that, skills and resources, people, which I'm not confident we do. and my bias is more in terms of experiment with as broad a range as possible. And each of those 50 videos doesn't have to be unique, but, tweak the hook or tweak the message or, whatever, small changes or small differences. So my fear is I don't feel we have the capability in-house. Because the one we did with Alana, which it was 50, that did extremely well. And so if we're going to do it in-house, I feel like we need to find creators that can talk to, middle-aged women.
Well, Alana was in-house, so you do have at least one creator in-house that can do it. The problem that you're not realizing is also, you mentioned organic. Organic is very, very different than paid, right? Organic posts, you may never even be seen, but paid, you're driving, paid is going to be seen because you're paying for it. Or, right, just build that resource in-house, right? So hire freelancers that can do the video editing, hire freelancers that can do the ad copy. And maybe Alana is that front-facing person creating the videos, or, hire some people on Fiverr that you're feeding the scripts to get the video shot.
I think that's the path that we've been gradually heading toward. Freelance had some recommendations of content creators, and that is what I think we're doing. Yeah. Now the question is how much and what are the best channels?
Yeah, because with an influencer platform like you're talking about, you don't know what you're going to get, right? So you're hoping to strike gold. Whereas if it was under your own control and maybe you had 2 videographers freelance and 3 copywriters who you found on like Fiverr or Odesk or just through networking, right? They're inexpensive, right? Because you're just doing a few ads. You're testing them basically. One, you have more control over what you're getting, and you can kind of adjust the throttle as you go, right? Because you can't really adjust the throttle with the influencer platform. You can reach up to 50 per month, but you're not going to get all 50 to give you content. Maybe you'll get 10. And would that money have been better spent if you just sort of build an internal Skunkworks team to really crack the problem? Because it sounds like you're close. Like a 0.7 ROAS on Facebook is not bad at all. Like it's kind of working.
Right. So Cody, what are we doing? The freelance introduced us to some people to do creative. Where are we with that? Are they producing or?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that list was not very good. Devin and I reviewed it, and we found some others who we all agreed would be good creators. We have product on the way to 2 of them at the moment, so we're getting that in the works with some scripts that we've written up. And the ultimate strategy is just like Bobby. One brand that we follow pretty heavily as far as follow the leader is Ori, and we've just been watching their videos and seeing what it is. It's a lot of B-roll. It's a lot of behind the camera. It's goofy intros that, really don't talk about the product at all. We feel like they've really hit the nail on the head as far as the scroll stop to at least be able to start delivering a message. So we've been kind of trying to come up with some ways to have that effect as well. And it seems as though they recycle a ton of content, and they say that they run about 50 ad tests a week. What that boils down to is the same video with 50 different hooks, and then see which hooks perform the best, and then go from there for the next element of the video. So that's where the varied content is obviously super valuable, because like you say, you don't know what you're going to get. But on the backside of not knowing what you're going to get, it might also work.
It could. It's just personally, I'm more of a control freak, right? And I would want to like systematically be able to control that versus leave it up to influencers and hope for the best. Because then you can't replicate it if you're doing that as well. You're just hoping to get like the next 50 and the next 50 and the next 50 influencers. And let's say you do find 2 or 3 that are really good. Well, now you're kind of restricted on.
Why can't we pay them to do what we'd be paying other content creators? I understand your point about control, and that is attractive. But it's kind of narrow and very focused on a couple of creators versus, testing 50 random ones. And then
Well, I'm still advocating testing 50 different hooks, much in the same way that Ori is doing it,
right.
but creating it yourself rather than giving giving creation to an agency. That, yeah, exactly. Because even if you do that route and find like 2 influencers that are good, these 2 influencers, their ads are just better than everybody else's. You're still struggling on scale for those 2. Right? There's only so much that you can get out of them, and that doesn't negate the need for more content, because eventually those 2 will stop working, and you're going to need to reinvent that wheel.
So in the scenario you described, where we control the process and we work with content creators, how does that not run into the same scale problem?
Every ad is going to eventually stop working or not work as well as it once did. So it's a constant game of another 50, another 150 every month to see where the juice is. So it doesn't negate that. It just puts more of the ownership on you, so that when you go to raise money, you say, hey, we've got this internal team, whether they be freelancers or not, right? We have this internal system,
right,
that is cranking out 50 ads, 100 ads a month. And we're not reliant on the will or the gods of the influencers, if you will.
Right.
I just think that's more attractive to raising funds. And 2, it's just, I think it's a better bet. I would place that bet over just kind of hoping for the best with an influencer or an agency that's going to bring you influencers. Once you have an ad that works, you can always go to influencers and say, hey, promote this. Yeah.
So how do we find the best freelance content creators?
Well, that's much the same way you find anything else, right? Go through a few duds and see which ones are the best. So I would recommend hiring like several at first, giving them all like the same sort of freelance assignment, like a test project, and basically judging them on that. How well did they deliver? Did they deliver on time? Did they listen to your instructions? That sort of thing. How is it working with them? And then ultimately really dependent on the performance of the ads as well.
Okay. So then the execution risk is in that scenario, is on finding the best, most cost-effective content creators.
Yeah, right. And maybe not even cost effective, maybe like just.
Well, I mean, we have to be able to afford them. They can't charge $50,000,
Well, yes, exactly. Right. You're looking for a small person, like a small one person like shop, essentially. Right. And I would put the money on testing 2 or 3 different video people, whether they're just doing all B-roll or whatever, like that's perfectly fine. And as well as putting the money on 2 or 3 different copywriters. Ideally, more copywriters than video producers.
Okay. So those are separate. Those are not the same person. That we give them a script and they then. So we've been scripting things ourselves, and I'm hearing you say we should be hiring copywriters as opposed to us doing the scripting.
Well, it's fine to do it yourself, but I would add copywriters in there as well, because you don't know what you don't know, right? It's just the same way that you're looking to find the gold in the influencers. Like there could be 1 or 2 copywriters out there that are far better than you guys at ad copy. You wouldn't know that unless you're constantly testing different writers.
Right.
Right now, you're putting all the writing and the video on the influencers, shoulders.
Well, no, we're not. We're doing some internally and with some creators that freelance has introduced us to.
Oh, okay.
So we are doing some freelance content creation already, correct, Cody? I mean, that's I thought we.
Yeah, that we've found the people off Upwork.
So big picture, by the way, thank you very much, Bobby. We really appreciate this feedback and conversation and guidance. And just macro level, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic for the first time in a long time. Are there any other issues that you'd recommend, any other trends or macro? I mean, again, supplement oriented trends you're seeing or advice you have as far as how the supplement category is evolving currently?
Well, the mushroom supplement trend is still really big, and gummy form factors are still pretty popular. I think you guys are actually on the right path. I think just with a little more focus, a little more time, a little more runway, you'll get there. Just keep going.
Time and money.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds familiar. Okay, well, thank you. We really appreciate your making some time to help us. And we just rolled out the bundles that you helped us design. We had to take those down when we were supply constrained. So we've just re-implemented those, and the initial indications are very positive in terms of the effect on AOV and LTV.
That's fantastic. AOV is vital to making the ROAS look better and reaching your goals. Thank you so much for your time today, guys.
All right, take care, Bobby. Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Hey, if you're a supplement company out there that's doing over $200,000 a year and you want to look to scale, you want to look to sell your business, you want to look to get to $1 million plus, give me an email. Send me an email. And if you're interested in doing a coaching call like this, coming on the podcast and getting some advice on how you can get there, send an email to Bobby, BOBBY, at creativethirst.com. And I'll have you on the show, and you can hopefully get some value just like this brand has gotten today. Thanks for listening.